Hello everyone and welcome back to the Amelie Moran podcast. Today we have a very special guest on the podcast. We have my mum who is visiting from the UK. Hello.
Hi.
Today I'm going to sit down with my mum and we're going to chat comparing the trip that you and Dad did 20 years ago versus what it's like now. We did a very, very similar trip through Central and South America and then moving to Australia, and I want to compare and see how different it is now compared to then, because you guys didn't even travel with phones, you didn't have Google Maps or all these amazing apps that we have now, so I want to see how different it is. To start us off, let's start at the beginning. What inspired you and Dad to take a trip through Latin America? Was it planned or more spontaneous?
Do you want the honest answer? or I can tell you a pretty story. When I met your dad, I went on a date, our first date, and he actually said, don't get too attached because I'm going traveling. And I was quite taken back by this. And I sort of went, okay, well, fine. And he bought my ticket to go around the world with him.
Oh, what, you'd met only once?
Yeah, we'd met once. And then after a few weeks, he said, come on then.
Did you know how long the trip was going to be?
No, not at all. He said, I think we should go from Canada all the way down Central and South America. And I just went, oh, that's a bit too much. I think I wasn't that interested in America at the time. And I think, especially because I spoke Spanish, I immediately jumped at the opportunity to go to Mexico and just get every Spanish-speaking country in, basically.
Okay. When you guys landed in Mexico, what were your first impressions of Latin America? Were you feeling fine because you're fluent in Spanish, or are you absolutely shitting it?
I think when I left, I had to, because I had only known your dad for about 6 months, so I had to be pretty sure that I was going to do this journey, you know, and that I could actually do it on my own in case it all went wrong.
Yes.
But I felt very confident because I spoke the language, obviously. I do remember one of the first things that I saw when I arrived in Mexico. We spoiled ourselves for the first night in a hotel just to get over our jet lag. And then the following day, we went straight into a supermarket to start buying provisions, kind of thing. And the first thing I saw was a loaf of bread by the same make that I'd grown up with in Spain, called Bimbo.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember phoning my mum up from the hotel going, Mum, I'm sorted. They've got pan Bimbo. And that was it.
That's so funny. Honestly, that was my breakfast every day. Those Bimbo, I don't even know what they were, like brioche? I don't even know. Yeah. That's well, they're still around.
Yeah.
They're still doing well. I feel like I can tell what your answer will be, but describe for the listeners what a day in the life of traveling Latin America with Dad was like. How were you planning your days?
I think our days were very much planned through smoking a lot of cigarettes and deciding where we were going to go. We would eat a lot of, as your dad likes to go, huevos, because that's what was everywhere. Eggs. Everywhere we went, we had to have eggs for breakfast. I was a bit annoying before we'd left, and I'd already read through the Lonely Planets that we were going to take with us.
Okay.
And I'd highlighted quite a few places that I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
Your dad is very much, let's just get on a bus and
let's
just see. Yes, let's see where that takes us. Meanwhile, I'd be yelling, going, can we get off we've just passed it. I wanted to get off there because there's something I want to see. I don't know, it just really worked. I think the other thing that really worked was that I understood everything that was being said.
Yeah.
My eyesight isn't very good, so Dad was the eyes and I was the ears and language, basically. So we sort of complemented each other.
Full person in one. Okay, and what were the main challenges you faced? How did you work through them?
One of the worst situations we were in was we arrived we were in Ecuador, and we got to a place called Riobamba. And from Riobamba, you take a train where you could sit on the roof of it and go to the next stop, which I actually can't remember where. We started noticing things were going a little bit wrong with our surroundings. There was a lot of indigenous people queuing up in the banks to try and get their money out. Then we noticed military, and Riobamba is a very small town. We sort of realized that we had to escape because they were putting barricades at the end of roads so that we couldn't leave. In the middle of all this, your dad woke up one morning. He was hallucinating. And they thought he had some kind of meningitis. Yes, I know. And I was thinking we need to escape. And it was just all going pear-shaped. So I had to try and carry him to the closest doctor, explain what was happening, and he was just so out of it. And then they said, well, it's fine. All he needs is some injections. Well, who's going to give him these injections? And they went, oh, you'll be fine. And so I went to the chemist and I picked up these 3 injections. And because I'd watched a lot of ER before leaving, I thought I was an expert. And I actually did the whole sort of flicking of the needle at the top to try and, I don't know what. And then I was trying to push the air out. I don't know why. And I didn't give it to him. I actually didn't. I was too scared. I was too scared. So I had to pay for somebody to come and
do the injection.
But it was awful. And do you know what? As soon as he had that injection, he literally leapt up.
Oh, wow.
And he was fine. It was
so
just
what was
really
wrong
bizarre.
With him?
Don't know. Well, because I think Ecuador, just can't remember what the altitude is of
altitude.
Yeah. Because I think we were probably about 3,500 meters high.
Oh my
God. Or even 4,000. I mean, I stand to be corrected. I can't remember.
Yeah.
All I remember is that from Riobamba we went up to, I think it was Chimborazo, which is 5,000 meters and higher. That was a terrible time, I think, trying to work out what the hell was happening in Ecuador. And it was such a shame because it's one of our favorite countries, because it's beautiful. And I'm so sad you didn't get a chance to go. I'm so sad.
Yeah, we weren't even allowed close to the border at the time because there was so much, there were so many like riots, and it was really, really dangerous. And I think also it was something like our travel insurance wouldn't cover us if we went to Ecuador. If the government found out we were in Ecuador, we'd like stamped our passports in, I think they said we won't cover if anything happens. Let's not take that risk.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. You make these snap decisions while you're out there.
Yeah.
Thinking, do I?
And we were very fortunate. We got to do like the whole of Colombia, which was an absolute privilege because that ended up being our favourite country. Yeah. So we were very lucky. But you know, we'll go back to Ecuador 100% one day. One day.
You have to.
What was the vibe back then for travellers? Were hostels the norm for travellers? Was everything guidebooks or just word of mouth? Sam and I did a bit of research before, I would say, and we had things like TikTok and even Instagram, and obviously like we had word of mouth, like you and Dad, to sort of be like, well, we went here if you're stuck for where to go next or whatever. But we had so many things. If we were in Buenos Aires and didn't know what there was to do there, we could just go on TikTok and be like, things to do, and everybody would have something. So how was it back then? Did you just have to arrive, explore, and see what happens?
Well, I mean, I just got the Lonely Planet, which was the guide at the time, and the nightmare of the Lonely Planet was that depending on when you were traveling, you were either up to date or severely not up to date. Because the thing is, you'd have hostels that might have closed down by the time you got there because it was 3 years out, because I think they renewed it every 3 years.
So you kind of wanted to go when they just released one then?
Absolutely. Yes, you had to go then.
Make sure the hostel's still there.
Yes, because we'd get somewhere and we'd get off the bus going, where the hell are we? And then just go, oh, I think there's a hostel down there or whatever. And so then we'd get there and it was like, no, doesn't exist. So it was a nightmare. I mean, we stayed in whorehouses that were, it stated it was a hostel, you know, I mean, But it's all, you just go with it. And, we had a budget, I think, at the time for both of us of $15 US dollars, I think.
What, a night?
A night. So if we got anything cheaper, obviously a bonus. Your dad did very well at negotiating with hostels. We also managed to stay in a really nice hotel once in Panama. I think it was $30 per night.
That's expensive.
That
when you're
was
backpacking.
so expensive.
That's proper luxury.
Yes. But no, we negotiated it down to like 20, I think. And it was like, we'll do it. Yeah. And then because the owner came out and he went, we've never had white people stay here. And there was hot water, which I was like, oh my God, I haven't had hot water.
I'll never take a hot shower for granted. One of our hostels, the shower was a hose pipe. Not even a hose pipe. What do you call it? Like a tap. Like you had this
just the
tiny hose pipe just like coming out of the wall. We paid $6 a night. So
actually, that sounds expensive for that, actually.
Couldn't really justify it. But
did you have any of these showers where they had like the electric motor outside the shower head?
No.
Oh my God! So
the shower.
So the whole of South America, as in I'm talking, we've landed in Colombia and now we're going down.
Yeah.
Every shower in the hostel would be the shower head, like a normal thing that comes out.
Yeah.
And attached to it was a motor which would probably look like an upside down small kid's bucket from the beach. And you could see the wires. We stayed in Paraguay, and every time you went to switch it on, you actually got a little electric shock. All these things. I mean,
just having a shower.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you'd have to go with your
dangerous.
flip-flops to have this rubber, and let me earth myself before having a shower.
Traveling with an earth wire.
I'd also actually always say, this isn't even hot. So I'm getting electrocuted and I'm not even got...
It's not even a nice shower.
No. It was a nightmare.
Okay, now going on to comparing now versus then. When I was prepping for this episode, I was thinking about your wedding book and how you have the emails you sent home to your family while traveling.
Okay.
How did you navigate and stay connected to people? You've always told me internet cafes were the way, but were you sending postcards as well? Was there another way to kind of communicate? Were you phone calling or?
Not phone calls. I think we probably only made, it would have to be a handful of phone calls because it was just so expensive to phone back because we were phoning from a phone booth. And internet cafes were brand new. So,
okay. I'd
only got my Hotmail account literally probably 3 months before we left, so... sort of thinking, how does this all work? I don't understand. I mean, there'd be a queue to use, to use a computer for an hour. You rented it for an hour. Yeah. And you just got, but I mean, now I'm thinking about it. What the hell was I doing for an hour? Because nobody really had email addresses. Do you know what I mean? And it was only my parents. It was your dad's parents. Yeah. I just don't think I even kept in touch with friends. I just don't think it was just, I was gone. I think we might have sent some postcards, but it would have had to be from like a big city. I do remember one postcard that we definitely had to send was from Ecuador, from the line.
Oh, the equator.
The equator, yes. Yeah. You could actually write a postcard and send it from there so that you got the stamp.
It was just interesting to us that internet cafes were still open and running, but then maybe I can't remember specifically where, but it must have been in like the smaller towns where they're not connected to a big city or something like that, where that is going to be your only computer in the house. As long as we had Wi-Fi, we had WhatsApp, and then Sam bought the eSIM so that he could get data for like maps and stuff like that. Okay. That was what we were also thinking about, like navigating. We had Google Maps. I mean, if we didn't have Google Maps, like I don't know what we would have done. So were you taking like physical maps? Are you asking people, oh, we've heard there's this, can you tell us how to get there? Like what?
Oh, I was literally Dora the Explorer. We had the massive map, the massive one that in fact, I think we had it up for ages. I mean, it takes up nearly a whole wall. And we were like, yeah, we're going to put red dots to where we've been. I mean, what a pain in the neck that was. But we had that. We didn't need it because in our books, but these Lonely Planets, you know, they're really thick. So I don't know, your dad's really good with directions. I mean, I had no idea. He actually used to take the mickey out of me and we'd get off the bus, have our sort of cigarette going, we've landed here. And then he'd go, right, where do you think it is? If you look at this map, where do you think it is? And I'd be like, I think it's over there. And he'd be like, no. So my sense of direction is shocking. So no idea.
My sense of direction is awful. I could not get around a town myself without maps, but Sam would be like, no, we passed this. No, like when we went to recreate that photo in uni of you,
yes,
he knew exactly where he was going, and I'm going, let's just give up, like there's no point. But he was like, no, I know where we are.
How weird is that? That was such a good photo to recreate, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite crazy as well, because the bench wasn't there, but you could see like where the bench used to be.
It's really cool that you did it though.
Yeah, no,
really
but couldn't have done it without Sam's direction. Okay, I know you and Dad were avid photographers on your travels. I love the photo albums that you guys have. What's your take on how social media influences travel now? Back then, it seems like you just enjoyed the moment without feeling the need to document everything.
I think you've said it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was lucky enough to go and see the 12 Apostles recently, and people are just there with their GoPro.
Yeah, or their like selfie stick or something.
Selfie stick or their phones. Our close friend Mel, she was laughing at me because I was just staring into space. Because I was just trying to take it all in. My eyes couldn't take it all in. And I just thought these other people are just wasting their time trying to get the perfect photo.
Yeah, because I guess for us it was sort of, you don't think about it. You probably appreciate it a lot more back then, especially with the film camera you guys had, because you're using up pieces of paper. Also then had to go and get photos developed, things like that. Whereas for us, it's just a quick snap on the phone. And I guess also, I get what you mean. I think a lot of the photos were, I can just say I've been here, or I've done it. I took the photo with the thing. We saw it a lot at Machu Picchu. We've done this amazing hike. You've spent like 2 days hiking there, and it was a big, massive deal for us. Yeah. But we felt that a lot of people in our group, it was sort of like, got there, took their photo, and then just sort of wandered around aimlessly. Just, I got my photo. Yeah. But for us, we were trying, like you say, with the 12 Apostles, trying to take it in and be like, we are never going to come back here ever. Yeah. So let's try and appreciate it where we can.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's exactly what you've said, is that people are just capturing that moment and then they move on. Yeah. And I'm like, but you've just seen it through your phone. Yeah. I know your dad, because I can't remember how many rolls we had to develop, maybe 35 rolls, which we developed in Chile. And then your poor dad had to carry them.
If you were to do a big trip with Dad again, do you think you would be more involved with the internet this time? Or do you think you'd try and keep it as before?
God, I don't know. That's a really good question. I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure I've changed, that I take more photos because I know they're a bit more disposable. I'm that generation, basically, I suppose. I have no idea. I don't know. I want to capture the moment to take with me, but then I'm like, no, I want it in my brain. Yeah. And the thing is, I think I get quite overwhelmed by visionary things, so I just love the colors, and I also, well, it's the sensory thing that I mean, we all do, I'm not saying I'm some exclusive person, but I think I want to hold on to that. Yeah. So if it means that, I didn't bring my phone, I didn't get a photo, well, bad luck.
Okay, we talked about this a lot because during Sam and I's traveling, we would compare prices a lot. Okay. How much did a trip like that cost back then? Do you think travel was more accessible in some ways because it was cheaper back then?
So I think what made me laugh was when you were thinking about doing the trip, and I said to you, oh my God, so sorted. We're going to Trailfinders, because that's exactly where I went with your dad. We sat in there and got the whole trip sorted. You got a year round the world trip. And that, at the time, I think it was 950 quid for a round the world trip. And you could change your tickets to whatever it was. You weren't bound by dates or anything like that. And then we added on going to Fiji for an extra couple of £100. But when we went to try and get your ticket, they didn't.
Extortionate.
Yes, and they didn't do it anymore. The backpack away.
Since COVID. They said we can't insure for like global pandemics. If it happens in the next few years whilst you're traveling, we can't insure you for that.
So sad, so upsetting.
And we were like, oh, okay.
Yes, okay. That's so upsetting.
But also it was extremely expensive.
I really can't remember how much things were, to be honest, in those days. I can't. And all I know is that everything we did was really on the cheap. I mean, it's so much on the cheap that, you know, the buses going from Mexico to Panama, they're all the old American school buses.
Yeah.
How tall is your dad? 6'2", 6'3"?
Yeah, 6'2" or 3.
You know, with a massive backpack. I mean, he got caught in between the seats, actually, lying on his back like a turtle, and we couldn't get him up. And it was just... I know, just because, you know, he was just like, oh God, how am I going to sit on this comfortably for, you know, 5-hour trip just from one town to the other. But whatever it was, the cheaper we got it, the better it was. I think we probably had to do a few expensive things. I do remember we had to fly from Panama to Cartagena just because the time of year we were going, the land in between was swampy more than earth kind of thing. You have to fly or catch a boat. And then we had to fly out of Colombia because anything from Bogota south we couldn't go because there was the Sendero Luminoso, the terrorists, well, the narcos group, terrorist group, etc. Although I had been quite annoying about getting insurance before we left, saying that, you know, in case we got kidnapped, I wanted to know how much I was worth.
Check my price tag.
Yeah, literally. I was like, well, in case I get kidnapped. But
I
anyway.
think we did that with our travel insurance. I think Sam had something for like if he lost a limb or like an eye. And he was like, wow, I get like 20 grand to replace my eye or something weird. And
because
I was
it's
like,
replaceable?
Yeah, because like, I don't know, because that's going to happen. I don't understand. Yeah. What's the most budget-friendly meal that you had?
We really lucked out once. All I remember is we had a lot of juices. And it was a lot of mango and orange juice. And a lot of eggs, a lot of beans, and a lot of rice. We lucked out once when we were in Panama when we went to this hotel, which was going to charge us $30 and we got it cheaply, etc. Well, it had its own casino and its own cinema. It was the height of luxury, this place. We had $1 US dollar in 10-cent pieces. And we went into the casino and we went, come on, let's bet it all, yes, with $1. And we bet the $1 and we made $10. And that paid for 2 steaks and 2 tickets to the cinema because we were part of the hotel complex.
Oh my God.
So we were quids in. So that was the best night ever, and hot water. I remember when we got to Antigua, Guatemala, seeing, it must be a Burger King. I think we saw a Burger King. Yeah. And literally we just went mad there eating Burger King.
Now talking about cultural differences.
Okay.
Were locals more welcoming to travelers back then? You're obviously fluent in Spanish. And it's your first language. So were people more welcoming to you because of that? Do you think it's changed now with the rise of mass tourism?
Cultural difference, we were always going to be the outsider.
Yeah.
They were really good things in a way because of it. I do remember some situations where we weren't able to say we had a British passport. It was just a little bit hairy to say a British passport.
What, didn't like the Brits or
something?
Well,
because Brits, they associated with Americans. They didn't like Americans. So it was just all a bit... But this is back then, you know?
Yeah.
It depends where you were. You know, I'm not saying everywhere is like that. Then if I even said, oh, yeah, because I'm Spanish, they'd sort of go, yeah, we don't really like the Spanish. And I was like, oh... and then I'd get the whole history lesson about why they don't like them. And I was like, okay. So I'm back to British. And then because I'm also German, I was going, German? Should I say German? You know, and it's sort of cultural differences. I think I really got into it. I became a complete and utter hippie being there. And I loved the whole spiritual thing about Tikal being related to the Egyptian pyramids, Machu Picchu, and I was buying all the books with all the spiritual stories, and I just got fully involved, and I was buying the good luck bracelets and the good luck charms, you know, and everything. I mean, I think even in La Paz, in Bolivia, in the witches market, I mean, I think your dad nearly had to hold me back from buying a fetus of a llama.
Yeah, they have them hanging everywhere.
And I'm like, what would I have done with the fetus of a llama? I don't know.
Backpack.
Yeah, exactly. Where am I going
Come
with
back
that?
to the hostel.
I was like, oh my God, you need this. You need this for some potion or something, you know. I loved everything. I loved everything about it. I really wanted to hear their stories. I was saddened by moments of just seeing how, you know, the Western world has at the time, for example, in one place I remember, which was in Panajachel, Guatemala. You know, I remember taking a boat across the lake, and I got talking to somebody who was local there, and they said, it's just such a shame because Western world wants to bring, you know, their Coca-Colas and their Fantas and their bottled stuff and things in tins, and we don't have anything to recycle.
Oh, wow.
So it was just going to landfill. And they were saying, we would love to do this, but we get given all this.
Yeah, we don't
stuff,
have anywhere to put it afterwards.
But afterwards, we haven't been given what do we do with it afterwards. You know, but then again, water, we were being given, if you didn't have it in a bottle, did you have this, that they give it to you in a plastic bag?
We saw this. I don't know if it was necessarily water, but we saw a lot of food stands would sell juices in a bag or something. I remember pineapple juice always being in a bag. I don't know why specifically. Or like milkshakes or something. Yeah.
And the thing is, you sort of think, okay, so I open the bag and I don't want all of it. What do I do with the rest of it? You know, I'm just holding it like this, like a fish, you know. That you've got
like
fish
Darla.
I mean, there was a few things that I did get wrong with Spanish words, and in Mexico I was very excited about talking to a family friend we happened to meet there, and I just kept saying the word, we're gonna get the bus, and in Spanish is, you know, vamos a coger el autobús, y el autobús, y coger, and I kept saying the word, and she was just like, can you stop saying the word? And I was like, why, what's the matter? And she goes, because over here it means to funk. And I was like, oh, So I went, oh, okay.
We're going to fuck the bus.
Yes. So I was like, oh, no. We had another moment, I think this was in Nicaragua, where I went into a shop because I seen that there was a cinema there. And I said, why don't we go to the cinema? Something really bizarre to do. And I went up to the lady in the shop and I just said, hi, could you tell me where the cinema is? She just looked at me and she went, Pedro, there's some gringo here who wants to ask you something. And I was like, I'm understanding everything you're saying. Why are you asking your husband for help?
Also, why are you not understanding
I know.
everything
I was
saying?
like, I understand you. Why are you not understanding me? Did you get called gringo?
I mean, I'm a pretty obvious gringo.
And you know why they call people gringos, don't you?
No. So
we learned this in when we got to Costa Rica, because people wear the green army uniforms.
No, I haven't seen this.
So as soon as you cross the border into Costa Rica, we were on a bus and people were getting on in the green American Army uniform. So the reason they call them gringos is because it's green, go. Yeah.
No, I stood out pretty badly.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm really surprised.
Yeah.
What was the giveaway?
But it's funny because Sam has extremely dark features and a lot of people thought he was from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
So people would come up to him speaking Spanish and he'd look at me and they'd be like, why are you looking at her? Like, she's not going to know any Spanish. And I was like, well, actually, I know a bit more. I don't know a lot, but I know a bit more. And
well, has it improved? Has it improved?
Definitely. And at the end of Chile, I would say definitely, and felt a lot more confident. As soon as you get back to English speaking, I feel like you just... Did
you find it really bizarre when suddenly you could understand people? When you were in English?
I felt so fucking cool. Oh, in English? I thought you meant Spanish.
Oh,
I'm
right.
like, no, in Spanish I felt so cool.
Oh, okay.
I translated our whole Bolivia salt flat tour to Sam because our guide didn't speak any English. And so I was translating everything to Sam. Would just sit there most of the day being like, wow, what's going on? And I would have to be like, okay, he's talking about the lagoon. Okay, he's saying it's made of this. He's saying that the color is this because of something. It was very jarring hearing English, I would say. I actually found it a bit like, I usually have to work really hard to speak to someone, and the fact that this feels really easy and natural is very...
Am I speaking English?
Yeah, I'm like, are we definitely speaking the same language? It was very, very jarring, I would say. That was a massive culture shock coming here. What's the most unforgettable experience you had in Latin America?
Gosh, so many. I think your dad and I talk about it. I think I consider myself very lucky that I've been. I think the thing that we probably go back to always is the escape from Ecuador. That could have taken such a bad turn very easily. I just think of, we had to hide in trucks, in lorries. And in fact, I remember one of the most terrifying things that haunts me a little bit is there was sort of a group of about, let's call it 12 of us, and we'd been hiding in this truck, escaping from one place, going to the next town. We got to a barricade. I mean, this is like a long queue. There's army there. There's loads of trucks that have, Coca-Cola trucks. I mean, everything, from watermelons to everything. The truck driver who we'd paid to take us as far as he could, he said, I can't take you any further because they've barricaded this road. And in fact, they'd actually dug a trench. So this road is completely gone.
Oh my God.
So they said, look, just get to the other side of the trench and then you can get another truck. Anyway, this guy that I was looking for, I think he was also, I think he might have been Argentinian. I can't really remember. But he sort of called me and said, I found a truck. And I was like, okay, fine. Let me go and see. And I went ahead and it was a fridge truck. And this guy was saying, let's get in it. And I was going, are you nuts? We're going to run out of oxygen. I just think
we're going to freeze.
But you're so desperate. You just don't care. You just go, okay, let's do that. Yeah, but I mean, I just went, no, we're not going in this. But, it haunts me to think that we could have been that stupid. It's just a moment of, let's just get out. And in fact, actually, the truck that we took was sitting on these big logs, these trees. We were on that, hiding under the tarpaulin, and then suddenly we hear gunshots, and the massive lorries doing a 3-point turn. We got stuck in a little village. It just happened to be passing this house, which was the red brick with the cement in between, that's just been built. And I went in and I said to the lady in there, I said, would you cook us a meal because we haven't eaten in 3 days? And she went, yeah, no problem, I'll make you a meal. And I'm looking around and she's got Barbies in boxes on the wall, like a trophy. These kids were not playing with the Barbie. This was like the most expensive thing that they had. And I said, okay, yes, we'll pay you for it or whatever. And she said, I'll charge you 50 cents per meal. I was going, done. Anyway, that's fine. And then one of the things was that I was desperate to brush my teeth. And I said, can I go and brush my teeth? And she went, yeah, no problem. Went to the back. And I saw this tap with like a bucket of quite grey water, and I thought, that's okay, it doesn't matter, I just need to brush my teeth. And as I was brushing, then suddenly I saw the heads of chickens popping out from this water, and it was just, I don't know what they were probably just cleaning chickens. It was just all a bit real.
You brushed your teeth with that water.
Yeah, but you just go with it. It doesn't matter. I know, you just go with it. And it was the best meal. It was just tuna and rice, a can of tuna and rice. And that fed, I think it was 6 of us. I remember those experiences more than anything because we just didn't know what the hell was going on. We didn't know how we were going to get out. We've made lifelong friends with the people that this happened with. And we definitely lucked out. One of them is a doctor. I don't know. That's the thing that probably we always go back to.
Now, after being in Latin America, you and Dad obviously moved to Sydney. similar to us, you got yourselves to Santiago airport in Chile and did the longest flight ever. I mean, you guys broke it up because you went to Fiji, but you got to Australia eventually. And what was the transition like going from this big sort of backpacker trip you'd done to, well, we've got to set life up now. We've kind of got to get serious.
We left Santiago, and I think for your dad, the great thing was that he was going to understand people finally. He'd spent 6 months not speaking a word kind of thing. Well, he had because we'd met a lot of travelers. We arrived in Australia with $100 thinking we were it. And then we realized that a hostel in Sydney was $375 a week. But luckily we had a friend of mine from uni who we'd actually taken to the airport a year before, and we said, next time we see you, we'll be in Sydney. And he came and picked us up from the airport. And he said, look, you can stay with us. I think it was much easier finding a job than what I can see a lot of travelers are going through at the moment. I'd already been working. So by then I was already 28 when we left, so I already had some years of experience. I found it really strange here because arriving in Sydney, my previous job had been to be working on something similar to the stock exchange, on the life exchange basically, and so I was wheeling, dealing basically, etc. And I was a broker, and I arrived here and I went immediately I got an interview straight away with some traders, and I said to them, so what time do I start? Considering that in London I'd had to start at 7:00 was the bell, and at 4:10 the bell finished. I mean, I lived like a vampire in this massive room, didn't see daylight, just trading all the time.
Oh my God.
And so suddenly I'm in Sydney and the office is super sunny, and he's saying to me, I don't expect you to be in the office all the time. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, no, I want you entertaining clients. You know, that's how the deals are going to take place, and da-da-da. And I was like, what?
Like Mad Men.
Yeah, literally, that's what I had to do was entertain. Yes. And in fact, I got taken on a lunch straight away as part of my interview. And I was like, what am I doing here? Yes. I just found it really strange. I didn't take the job because I just couldn't understand it.
Oh, what, it jarred you that much?
Yeah. I didn't understand. I was like, but I'm ruled by the bell. The bell goes at 7. I trade. Yeah, I literally was like Quasimodo. Like the bells, what are you talking about? I've got freedom. And he would say, I want you surfing. I want you doing that. And I was like, what? Surfing? I haven't got time for surfing. Yeah, really strange.
Was Australia ever the long-term plan, or was it kind of just, let's see what happens?
Yeah, we definitely came here to live here and make a go of it. We decided straight away that we didn't want to be where all the Brits were. We were quite happy to try and integrate. Well, I got pregnant, didn't I? And so basically, and I just had to go back to Europe basically. So I don't think it was that, because actually the whole process of, even when I was having my scans and everything, it was just amazing when I compare it now to what it's like in England.
Yeah.
I think at the time we'd been away for probably about 2 years, even longer, 2.5 years, something like that. And it was just like, I think,
time to go home.
Yeah, time to just go back.
Do you feel like becoming a parent changed your perspective on travel? You and Dad have always supported all of me and my sisters to go traveling. Probably, I mean, you couldn't get us out the door quicker, probably. But
no, and I highly encourage it. Please go. Please go. All of you go.
Even at my leaving party, Dad was like, don't come back, no pressure. And I was like, I've not even left yet. Okay.
Should we just go now?
Yeah. I was like, okay, bye. Great.
Definitely. No, I mean, your dad was the one that pushed me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to expect. And I love it. Highly encourage it. I want you all to do it. I want you all to explore. Yeah, why not? What the hell,
I was going to say, what's one piece of advice you'd give to anyone traveling? But I feel feel like you've answered.
Yeah, just go.
Just leave.
Yeah, just go. Always. There's nothing should stop you. Nothing. You can make it work. And you meet so many people along the way. So many wonderful people. You meet travelers. You're all in the same boat. So, just asking for advice from the person sitting next to you. Should I go here or should I go there? Go there. Right, okay. There's always somebody around.
Yeah, 100%. If you could do it all again, would you change anything about the way that you travelled?
No.
Okay.
I know. Well, that was quite a quick answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Nothing. I wouldn't change anything. Nothing. I wouldn't change anything that we did. I would do it all again in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Nice.
Literally pick your passport, your credit card. Crumbs, I was even telling you, get your traveller's check sorted. They don't exist anymore. So I'm so out of date already. So
I know, I was a bit like, what is that?
What are those?
I've never seen that.
So pick up your passport, pick up your cash, credit card, I don't know, whatever your mode is, and just get on that plane and go. It doesn't matter. They are people. They're not aliens.
Exactly.
And they want to help. Everybody wants to help, and they want you to know about their country.
Well, I've loved having you on the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me?
So, would you do the trip with your mother?
Yes, because then I would have a permanent translator.
Okay.
And then I would actually know what the fuck was going on. And not have to Google translate everything. Yes, I would do it with my mom. I think we'd be fine. I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Bye.